Good afternoon and welcome to Opinion Journal. I'm Mary Kissel. Alleged Boston bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev has been captured, and a debate has erupted about whether or not he should be read his Miranda rights, which includes the right to an attorney. Editorial page editor Paul Gigot joins me now to discuss. Paul, you say no, he shouldn't be Mirandized. Why?
No, what we say is I think this Miranda debate is beside the point, essentially. Miranda rights relate to whether or not testimony can be used in court, right? If you don't read him his Miranda rights and give him the right to an attorney, any suspect in the United States shouldn't be, the testimony from that confession, say, will not be admissible in a court of law. That's not really what we are concerned about here. There's more than enough evidence to suggest that he was in fact one of the bombers.
Yeah, we've got video, we have a confession in a car.
Probably
there's a lot of stuff
even
here.
a bad lawyer could convict him. Okay. So unless there's something we really don't know about, what we need to know now is what were the connections that the two brothers had to anybody else in the world as part of a terror network. What do they know about other attacks being planned, if any? We don't know. I haven't read anything that there are such connections, but that should be the goal of any interrogation here, not whether or not we're going to convict this guy.
Paul, the Obama administration is using something called the public safety exemption. So they haven't read him his rights. They have a certain period of time under this exemption to question him. Is that the right course of action?
No, I don't think it's adequate. Again, that's a distraction. That's merely getting us into the question of whether or not he's going to be whatever he says will be admissible. What we need to do is be forward-looking and preventing terror, preventing another attack, and getting more information about what links these brothers had to a terror network, where they were trained, if they were, how did they get their bomb, how did they learn how to put together bombs, that sort of thing. That's why I think what we need is to label them an enemy combatant, which allows you as an interrogator to talk to somebody like this for an extended period of time, not just 48 hours or 72 hours, but develop a relationship, a trust between the interrogator and the suspect, so that we can find out over time what his relationships were. You can even come back 2 months later and say, look, this is something we've learned as part of our investigation. You didn't mention this. Why is that important? And he might go, oh yeah, okay, if he's in a talking mood. So you need that kind of extensive discussions. You can, later on, you can say, okay, we've got all we think we can get from Dzhokhar. Now we can bring him back in the criminal justice system. But the enemy combatant designation allows you more freedom immediately.
There seems to be a split on the right in particular about whether or not to do this. Senators John McCain, Kelly Ayotte agree with you. They say declare him an enemy combatant. There are others in the party that say no, and they're worried about civil liberties.
Well, I'm worried about civil liberties too. The question is not that we're not worried about civil liberties. It's how do you balance it in this kind of a situation?
Well, another aspect of civil liberties is watching these kinds of terror suspects. For example, FISA, the ability to monitor guys like this. We know that a foreign intelligence operation told the FBI, look at Tamerlane,
right,
the older brother. Do we know whether or not the U.S. government took advantage of those capabilities in this instance or not?
We don't. That's a question we raised in our editorial, and I think it is a fair question, because if the FBI was alerted, as it says it was, by the Russian intelligence service, and then he went on a trip overseas, we seem to have dropped the ball on that. One source this morning told me that they did because somebody misspelled his name in the databases.
Wow.
So if that happened, then maybe that's how the FBI lost track of that Russian trip. But once he was back, when he began to post jihadist videos, you would think, having been on the FBI's alert list, that he would somehow have been kept track of. And that's where I think the question about FISA is warranted. Did we get a warrant, as you can under the FISA court? That's why it's set up, to get those warrants, to supervise people like—
And protect civil liberties, too.
Right, well, that's why. I mean, people said the Bush administration had a warrantless wiretap program, so this was established to allow warrants in that case. Did the FBI pursue that? If it didn't, why not? And I don't think that's been answered yet.
Okay, editorial page editor Paul Gigot, thank you so much for being on the show.